Okay, welcome to Treehouse number 9. So good roll up today, which is good. So yeah, I've just opened a poll. Just going to talk about that in a little while. Just asking, what's your primary website design tool? So what sort of software you use to start your design projects? So I'll go into that in a bit later. A little light on content for this meeting, so it's probably going to be a short one. So feel free to jump in and discuss anything that's relevant at the moment. So the main thing, I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see my screen now? Yeah, cool. Okay, so we've finally got the code section of the Treehouse website up and running. So there's a few items there from Aaron mainly, so thanks for that, Aaron. So yeah, hopefully this will grow quite quickly. I'm trying to add things, put them in like the forum or on Slack or whatever, try and add them in here. Just for a place to go to get those code snippets really quickly. So check that out. Hopefully that will help some people out. We've got versioning there as well, so you can see if it's been updated since you grabbed the code, that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully that's working pretty well. So yeah, definitely if you've got anything to contribute here, please feel free to shoot it through to me or put it on the forums or wherever. We'll get that online. I was going to try and demo like the new blog, like the new way of getting tags and categories for the blog, but I didn't get time to finish that off, so maybe that'll be good. All right, so just back to the poll. So obviously with the Adobe screwing us all around with the DC end of life, a lot of people were talking about, looking at other solutions entirely for the Adobe design tools. So I just wanted to get a feel of like what people were actually doing with their design. So I can see from the poll results, I'm not sure if everyone can see that, but let me see. You might be able to see those on my screen now, but so a lot of people are using templates. A lot of people are outsourcing it, and a few using Photoshop and Illustrator and XD. Okay, so I've been looking at the Affinity stuff, which is quite new, and I think Aaron, you mentioned if he's here, he was going to look at using that. I know a lot of other people were, which it looks really good. If you have a look at the Affinity site and check out their keynote, there's some really cool or interesting features with their software, which people might be interested in. Anyway, I'm not here to sell Affinity or anything like that. I'm just interested in what people were doing and how they sort of get started with their web designs. So also, there's for the people signed up to Treehouse and giving themselves roles and things like that. We're starting a project. Let me just stop sharing. Yeah, so we've started sort of the first main project, I guess you could say, is working on like an onboarding kit for people joining Treepool. So make sure you sign up to the Treehouse site so you can get access to the forum. There's like a private channel in there. And we're just sort of looking at ideas on how to put together like an onboarding kit for people. Or even people who've already started Treepool. There's going to be things in there that might help. So just where to go to get started and what to look at. So we need more input on that and help if you can. So make sure you sign up to Treehouse and help out there. There'll be other interesting things coming. So just reading the chat here quickly. So someone's using Pine Grow, so that's pretty cool. The design. Yeah, so is anyone like finding it hard with their design process moving into Treeple, or is it pretty much the same as what you're doing in BC? And a lot are using templates, so it's probably fairly similar, I'd imagine. Yeah, so Studio RTP saying it's very similar. Zero box into. Yeah, so just trying to figure out Liquid. Yeah, so hopefully, I want to try and put together a bit of a Liquid starting guide on the Treehouse site. I know everyone's sort of probably struggling with Liquid. But it's definitely good to get started in that and get your head around Liquid, because it's really going to help you with your development. Yeah, Liquid is our friend, Darren says, so definitely. Okay. So so those of you who have sort of joined the Treehouse site and put a profile up there and that sort of thing, are you looking at the forum, so the channels in there? So why not hopefully start trying to put some little projects up there, or little tasks up there for everyone to sort of contribute with. So that's where it'll all go. It'll all go to the forums, so we can sort of discuss it easily there. So you're talking about Affinity Live there, Studio RTP? Just figuring out how to use it?
Adam, just about the Liquid subject, my experience, some people I was talking to, it's really difficult. I just wrote it in the chat as well. It's really difficult to use Treeple without Liquid.
Yeah.
Actually, you really need to know Liquid. I had one Treeple partner here in Germany. I was on the phone on a regular basis because he was so confused. He came from a business catalyst and basically did everything with module tags, and was now confronted with that fact that he has to use Liquid. I don't know how many partners we have who might be in the same situation, like not very familiar with Liquid. So that's something we should consider, like when we're talking about onboarding, like a quick introduction into the most important Liquid things you have to do in Treeple to get things running. I think the code page is already doing a great job, like on the form submission page, stuff like this. So that's a good start.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing that too. I think Liquid is probably the biggest barrier from what I'm seeing. I guess, like in terms of the module tags, like what the component manager would give you to put on the page, very similar to what BC had. I mean, you could have said that was Liquid that BC was using as well. I mean, it's just a tag that they use to pull data out. So yeah, I think we'll have to focus the docs and things like that more around how to actually get started with Liquid. Yeah, so Barry's saying, oh, not a coder, so Liquid gets outsourced. Yeah. Okay. And Catherine, you're saying you only got notified of this meeting in Facebook. Yeah, I try to put the meeting notifications in Slack and Facebook. We don't have any email marketing sort of set up yet. I thought that might be cause a few issues. I'm not sure, but sorry, just trying to read the chat as well. So Jack says you've searched for Liquid online for training and can't find it. Yeah, it's a bit strange because different systems use Liquid in different ways, I think. So it's, even if you do find Liquid tutorials and things like that, it's probably going to be a little bit different for the system that you're using. But I mean, I actually think once you get your head around what Liquid's doing, actually becomes, I think it's one of the easier languages, if you call it that, to get started in. So I'd definitely encourage everyone just to try and dig into it, and once you get your head around that first sort of hurdle, it all starts to make sense. I mean, there isn't like a lot to it really. You've got your main tools and filters and things like that, and then you really just combine them all to do what you need to do. It's certainly not as complicated as, say, JavaScript or something like that. It's so Aaron's saying, Shopify probably the best resource. Yeah, because Treehouse is based on the Shopify version, so it should be pretty well coherent with that. Yeah. And two, I guess, like having a look at the templates that Treehouse have put together, and just sort of decoding all the liquid that they've used and how they've done it. That would probably be a good starting point as well. So is there anyone here that's pretty new to Treehouse? Have you just sort of signed up, in the last month or so? You don't have to jump on and talk, but just in the chat if you're all sort of seasoned Treehouse users. Barry says he's been a partner since last year. Just started migrating sites now, yeah. Okay, so I wanted to also talk about this meeting time, because I know it's obviously finding a meeting time is not going to be easy for everyone. So I had two trains of thought in that we do sort of this one main meeting, record it, put it online, and then a few days later, after everyone's sort of caught up, watch the recording, we have like a secondary meeting that's probably just shorter, but just to discuss that recording if anyone had anything to say about what was presented or whatnot. Or we alternate the timing. So the first meeting will be at this time, and then the next one we'll do it at a different time to suit the other part of the world, and then just keep alternating like that. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? And what sort of work with you, or be the fairest way to handle that?
I don't know. I think, John, what do you think? Because I think we are in the same time zone. We are on European time here. Everybody else is probably either early in the morning or late in the afternoon, right? The
I think
American partners. So who's here from Europe? I think we have like 9 partners, like England, Ireland, Scandinavia, Italy now. Is the Italian partner is not here today, is he? No.
Not sure.
So, it's only me and John then. But I'm okay. I can be a late night person. I can be up it's 11 now here. So not always, but mostly. So I leave it up to the other partners. John, what do you say?
Hi there. Well, I think that it's okay with this evening talks, because we have to have everyone with us. So we have to have the Americans and the Australians. So I think it's okay for our European guys.
On the other hand, the European partners who are not here now might not be here now because it's so late. So exactly. We should ask the question maybe on Slack. But to wrap it up, I find the idea interesting, Adam, to make this recording, and then we can try this and see how it works. So we can digest whatever was on the meeting and make a follow-up meeting, a shorter one, or I think we have to try out different things.
Yeah. Hey, the biggest problem we had with Agency Tribe was we moved it to 4, and then we had problems with people in Australia, right? Try to deal with Europe, and then when we moved it to 6, I lost a lot of US-based people because they're heading home from work or dinner or whatever. It's tough.
Yeah, so you guys just keep it consistent, don't you? You just stuck with the time.
Well, we did for a while, then we moved it, and then we switched it to one meeting was at 4 U.S. time, and one meeting was at 8 U.S. time, which helped everybody in Australia.
Yeah.
So it's tough trying to figure out a good balance. That's why we were going to go to 2 meetings. The 2 meetings a month, one was going to be on my time, one was going to be better for Ursula's time. So
yeah,
that could be an option if you did more meetings, but then you got to do more meetings. So.
Yeah, exactly. And at the moment, like, content for the meetings is pretty scarce. I mean, you guys obviously have a lot more content and interest, but just starting out here it's a bit scarce. So definitely only want to do one meeting. But yeah, maybe just look like a quick follow up. Maybe for just if there's something that there was a lot of discussion happening about, we could open it up again if people wanted to chat live about it. But I was also thinking maybe the meeting recording, maybe we post it into the forum. I think that's probably the best place for now, so that the conversation can continue there, so people can start commenting on that. So it kind of lives on rather than just being recorded and forgotten. But anyway, I guess we'll see what happens there. Because I mean, like I think a lot of people are saying in the comments, they're easy, they can sort of adapt to the time like I can, but I think especially people working for agencies and that sort of working 9 to 5 kind of thing, it's hard to do it out of hours. Yeah, so Studio RTP is just saying, aside from Liquid, it's hard sort of to know where to go for answers and that. And that's exactly what the onboarding kit is about, that we're trying to work on. Just really getting everyone familiar with the ecosystem that's developing. And that's why I'm trying to focus everything back to the forum, because I think the forum is probably the best place at the moment to get help and find how to do things. So I would say everyone on the forum, just go to the forum. It seems to be where most of the action's happening.
There's also in the forum, the answer stays in Slack when you have like a problem and you go to Slack. It's because they don't have a paid version of Slack. So it's only, I think, 10,000 messages or so. So it's not like there's not an archive of solutions there. So I prefer to put things on the forum so we can look, or people can look for it, search for it, like forever, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Alex from Centrifuge, he did a good job pulling a lot of that original stuff over into the forums. So yeah, it's definitely, the forums is a place to go. I think I sort of see Slack maybe will start to phase out a bit in that regard, or maybe it'll only be there for the sort of chat with developers or something like that for specific things. But I think the forum's working really well. I was a bit skeptical at first using a forum because it sort of seems a bit old hat, but that works really well for this sort of structure. So Catherine's just saying, can the meeting notifications go into the forum too? Yeah, okay. That shouldn't be a problem. And Megan's saying, are Treehouse ever going to implement live chat support? Okay, I'm not sure about that one. They do have live chat on their website though, don't they? I think. But it may not be for support. I haven't used it. But I mean, jumping into Slack, Alexi's there a lot, so it's almost like live chat sometimes. So. Regan's asking, do we know when the next sprint will be released? Looking forward to the Advanced URL Manager Part 1. So I think it's being released right now. Is that right? Is that everyone else's interpretation? I think it was, or it happened just a couple of hours ago or something.
The portal has been updated today.
Oh, it was just the portal, was it? Okay.
Yeah, so far, the only thing I found is that we now have invoices, PDF invoices.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was all on the portal side of things. Okay, so the in-process tasks, because they delayed the last release and combined it with this one, and it's due. It was due yesterday, so they're obviously working on just bringing that out. Any time now. I think it's probably coming out in parts. Something. Okay, so Jack's saying the URL manager moved to the 8th of October. Yeah, I think they're bringing it out in 2 parts or something. So. And Jack's just made an interesting comment about the forum, like things become outdated, which is certainly true. So that's hard to manage, but yeah, a way of marking them as outdated. I guess that is an issue because, as you said, newcomers will see the post, try out the solutions that are there, but then find that it's all outdated and everything's changed, which is a problem. Not sure how to handle that one. Okay. So how is everyone finding their migrations? Is everyone going well with that? Is the migration app helping everyone? Is everyone using that? I've kind of still been doing things manually. Yeah, Aaron's finished with migrations or done with them, maybe not finished.
I'm still waiting for CRM migrations because that's the biggest issue for us. Like websites are having thousands of users with passwords and stuff. I don't know if this will ever come, to be honest. Like password migration, so they can be the users of the site can use their passwords seamless on the migrated site. I don't know if that's possible at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I see that the latest update to the migration tool is for secure zones. So, but yeah, I would doubt that it would include the actual password, because it would raise some security concerns if it did, I guess.
We have tried migration so far for like parts, and that worked pretty well. Like parts of the site, like the menu structure. Or downloads, lots of downloads, media downloads, stuff like this. So we are happy so far, but we are still waiting for the big migrations. We would use our 3 free migration slots. That's still to come for the big sites. Yeah, mostly because of the CRM.
Yeah, okay, CRM. Yeah, I think they definitely need to get that customized CRM in place. And I think it needs to work better with MailChimp as well, because really the CRM and your marketing tools need to talk to each other. So we need a bit of a tighter integration with MailChimp. So hopefully that will come.
Talking about marketing tools, we have a bit of a problem with MailChimp because like we don't have lots of clients who use marketing, but one important client is close to the 2,000 contacts limit MailChimp has. And we find it difficult to communicate what will happen when they cross this 2,000 contact limit. Because they don't send out lots of newsletters. They send out one newsletter per month, so that's not the problem. But the contacts limit is the problem. Because when you look at the pricing, and when they have 2,001 contacts in their mailing list, you already have to pay like, I think, $30, something like that. Yeah, and it's only 500 more contacts. And the next step is 5,000 contacts, and then you're already up to, I think, $49. It's a bit of an issue. I don't know if anybody has the same problem here or found a solution to that, but the pricing system on MailChimp is not so good for us. I would have thought they might like charge $10 or so, and you have 1,000 contacts more. That would be like good, because $10 is easy. But 30 or 40, 50, 60.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is a bit hard to try, and especially when you're trying to convert people over from BC, and the price may already have increased, and then you've got to add that on top. It's a hard pill to swallow. But from my initial research, MailChimp still seemed to be the best pricing from all the other email marketing tools, from what I could see. And also they hide it, but there's pay-as-you-go pricing on MailChimp as well. It's really hidden. You've got to sort of drill down to find it, but that might work out a bit better for some. Yeah, it's hard, especially when we're used to BC giving us like unlimited customers and like 10,000 sends per month. So Aaron's saying it's tough to integrate with MailChimp and Drupal right now. Yeah. Drupal requires a new list to be created, but the free plan won't allow for it. Yeah, so that's a new thing.
So should we look out for maybe other newsletter solutions, so we can ask the Drupal team to integrate new API solutions? I don't know. I mean, the integration in Drupal is like, you can choose more than one service. That's how the admin is organized. So I don't know what's out there. I'm not like very familiar with marketing solutions like that, but that might be something we could do research on, and then ask the team if those solutions have an API, of course. Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, it's obvious that Drupal is setting it up that way, that they for future iterations, you'll be able to add more service providers into the API. But yeah, I think for them, MailChimp was probably the easiest solution to get up and running quickly, which makes sense.
Frog is saying to have a look at Hail, but I'm just Googling it. You might have a URL for that. That's a online marketing solution, is it? H-I-L.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. I think I get a bit worried with like using sort of the lesser known email marketing tools. I'm worried about like the deliverability of them, and that sort of thing. So whereas MailChimp's quite large, they're quite trusted. So plus they're doing some pretty cool stuff with like the automation and integrating with e-commerce type stuff. So I think it's a good solution, but yeah.
MailerLite looks good from the pricing. That's what we would need.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to see Drupal just integrate, like a what's that? SendGrid or something like that, where they actually just use their back-end service and Drupal actually handles the mailing. So we're not using a separate service at all. We're just sort of using an API, and Drupal connects to that service. But obviously that'd be a lot more work. Okay, so Regan's asking about page speed, and Aaron says you can talk on page speed, so you've got the mic if you want, Aaron. Please feel free.
Just give me a second to set up. Sorry, we're just in a client meeting. That's why I was a little bit delayed. How's it going, everyone? Hello. Nobody has a beer in their hand. I cannot believe it. What is, Adam? You're supposed to have a beer in your hand at 9:30 in the morning. Come on.
Yeah. It's 7:30.
Yeah, right. Okay. Let me just share my screen here. 1 second. Cool. Yeah, I actually had a customer asking about page speed the other day, but they were referencing an old site that was on WordPress. So it was a weird comparison, but it got me thinking like maybe I should go and just check out other people's page speed. Oh, actually, before I start, I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's a link called google-webfonts.-helper that allows you. So rather than putting like another script in your head of your document, like like say you're using Google Fonts. Where's my header script? So rather than adding another like Google Font script, I think I removed it from here, but rather than adding another one here, you can actually download them and add them right to your CSS file or SAS file or whatever. So it just creates one less options to do it. So I'll just post this link in here, but you can just add them as font faces. So it just helps on the speed. And I found this out actually when using Google Page Speed. So that kind of got me going and moving and changing codes on other people's sites to do it this way. It's a bit more daunting to do it this way. And the example I'm showing you guys right now is my SAS file. But Montserrat fonts, I put everything here, and it's all there, and then you just assign it to a variable in using SCSS, right? So it's pretty simple stuff if you know how to do that. But I will post this in the chat somehow. So I'm going to stop share. I don't know how to post things in chat while sharing. Let's try it again. Okay, so Google Page Speed. Go here. So the site I was testing it on the other day was AWC Solutions. They were trying to compare it to their previous, I don't know, WordPress site, and it was freaking garbage. It was like 10% rating on their mobile site, and a whole bunch of stuff on their desktop site, right? So I've been like, okay, well, I'm going to go back and forth, trying to figure out what's going on their existing site, and then we managed to get this thing, going like a bit higher now, right? But what I was finding was every time I'd put this in here, it would cause congestion on the server. So I would like run the test, and then I'd walk away for an hour and come back, and the rating was completely different. It might have, like, desktop might have gone up to 94%. So you kind of start going into all the different parameters. So I went through and all the things that I can definitely fix myself. And if you look at the server response time, this becomes one of those things that it's based on congestion. So it can be based on how many people are actually frequenting the site. It's how many requests they have to go back and forth. So if you can limit the amount of requests, of course, it's going to be a quicker load time. And this is desktop, and then of course for mobile, you want it to be better, right? But so I went through it. Okay, let me check web fonts. Okay, let's do something different for web fonts rather than putting them in as a script, like a link tag, a script link tag. Let's put them right into my CSS file. So that helped. And then we did the usual, updating images, put the image algorithms on some of the images, using tiny PNG to compress the images. We did all that, and we started to notice a bit of a difference there. So it was good. And again, last time I looked at this, it was at 92% on desktop, and it was on, I think, 64 on mobile. So you can see how it fluctuates per day. So I don't know if it's a triple thing or I don't know if it's a congestion thing, but when I checked it on a Business Catalyst website, it was kind of reporting the same thing. So again, it clearly says, on here, like, don't use this, just use it as a sort of a baseline, I guess. You should always, like, I use a bunch of different SEO tools. Like, we use SEO Toolbox. Every time a website goes live, we use one of these audits. And it just, honestly, it's for me, so I make sure I didn't miss anything. Like, oh, did I miss minifying my JavaScript files? Did I do this? Did I do kind of this, right? What? I got a lower score. That's not good. Solutions.com. And so I kind of use this in conjunction with Google Page Speed Insights. And it's kind of one of those things, like, if you're actually just spending the time to look at this stuff for people, it will help. But the biggest thing I noticed was the next serving images in next gen formats. And this is, I don't know you guys recall, I was talking in forums or Slack or something about, how many people are actually using next gen formats for images for JPEG, 2000, XR, and WebP. And from my understanding, Adam, I don't think Treeple's set up for these quite yet, is it? I don't think they are. But nevertheless, the real problem becomes: our customers, do they know how to actually do anything with these files, right? So if you're with a client that you're on, I don't know, on a retainer plan with, for sure, let's go for it. If you're doing all the image formatting for them, yes, integrate the next gen formats. But other than that, but look at the rating it's giving on my. It's giving me a 2.4 second lag on just based on this, right? So if I were to just update this with next gen images, I bet I could get this up to like an 80% or something like that, right? But it becomes like, okay, how modern are our clients to be able to deal with this kind of stuff, right? So it's really one of those things. It becomes, for me, I use this as a checklist. I kind of look at this like load time thing too. Like, oh, how many queues is it having to go to actually load the site? And then the other thing is they also recommend that you create like pre-styles, like, give your website some color and some quick typography, so when it loads right away, like you're not going to get that FOUK in there, a flash of unstyled content. If you start moving things out of the, into the body, into the closing body of your document. So but yet there's some SEO tools that frown upon using inline styles too. So it's like there's no best of both worlds. You just got to use this as like sort of if I can show a client their old site and I'm like, hey, your old site was hitting a 24%, and then I go and do the Treeple site and I can launch it, and I'm right before I send them the report, I'm like, okay, what can I fix? What can I fix? What can I fix? And I go back to them and say, look, I just increased it to 60%, and here's what we can do moving forward. That's a better story for them as well, right? And then back to this, I kind of go, this is my checklist. I go, because sometimes you forget, like, oh, I forgot to put a meta tag in there or something like that, or my things are not minified or whatever. The problem with these tests, a lot of these SEO tools, they're all suited towards WordPress sites, right? Image catching and all that sort of stuff that you can't actually do HT-access image catching on basic HTML sites, right? So again, these are my tools. This is what I use, but I just wanted to share that because it was I stopped using Google Page Speeds and Lighthouse when they implemented the new version of it, because before I was just using the basic one. It was super easy, and I could oh, this image needs to be compressed. Now it's more elaborate, but there's so many variables. It's hard to as long as you can show some sort of progress to your client, that's the and I haven't seen any degradation in using Treeple yet. Some sites I do. I notice it on heavy liquid usage and over usage. I see it. We just assumed another Treeple client site where there was a lot of liquid over usage, and it's completely slowed down the site. And I don't even know where to start, to be honest. So it's kind of like how you plan out your site at the start. Don't look at please stay away from recursive liquid, because that's just going to kill you. And if you can use the integrated modules like blog and events rather than creating your whole new separate module, it just uses up less resources. That's just my experience. The less custom resources you use, the faster your site's going to be. So that's my 2 cents. That's my Cole's notes for the day.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was awesome. I've sort of jumped into the optimization rabbit hole a few times. It gets pretty complex. So is that something you would charge extra for? I know you said on a retainer you might do it, but like I certainly see that as an extra service that you would charge for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. We have our creative retainer services, which basically involves anything to do with our creative services that we offer. So graphic design and digital marketing and all that kind of stuff. We have custom solutions, but yeah, we just offer packages, and that's just part of it, right? And even the website maintenance is involved with that as well. Yeah, I think it's just a must, right? I mean, think about how much money people are making on website maintenance for WordPress sites. It's just shit, man. Like it's gotta, we gotta start charging more for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Personally, the more I get into this, people just had it easy in BC, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right. That's true. There's just so much.
Sorry, I'm no holds barred now when it comes to CMSs, right? Especially dealing with like Shopify, where you're $29, but that's your starting entry, but if you want the real guts, it's $79 a month, right? So that's just, and you look at Salesforce, it's like minimum, $3,000 a year. I mean, it's crazy. So people just have to be, used to starting to pay money for things, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah, and I think for those who just keep complaining about it, you just got to.
They're the wrong client, unfortunately. That's just it, right?
Just got to say no. Yeah. So I mean, you're talking about liquid usage slowing down sites. So the documentation site is a good example of that, because that sidebar menu structure uses pretty heavy liquid, a lot of looping within loops. And I'm sure most of you have seen that that's pretty slow. But when I change it to the new Liquid engine, it's snappy as. It's really quick. So I think the new Liquid engine will help with all that more complex Liquid stuff. I haven't been able to switch the documentation side over yet because of some other issues. Still some bugs with that, but hopefully soon.
I try to stay away from on-page for loops as much as possible, and actually just use the built-in lists and list view instead. The only time I would use on-page for looping would be if I need to get more out of that loop than just using a list, basically. Does that make sense? So if I need to offset a blog article, it's tougher to do if you're using just like the module tag and just adding the layout as the list view. I can do more if I put render it as a collection on a page. So it's just working with that.
Right.
Aaron, is that because of speed? Is it quicker using?
It is. Trust me, I've tested this to the max. One of my larger sites had a lot on BC. Had it. I was just using for loops on everything, like just on every page. I just got used to it in BC doing it that way, just because I hated their list options. And then Adam was like, "Hey, why don't you just do all this stuff and using the list? It's way easier now." And I was like, "Oh, that actually makes sense." But in some cases, I actually needed to do it, so I did a comparison, and it did drastically speed up because I was using the integrated system assets or layouts rather than creating a new one on the page. So I mean, drastically, like I'm talking probably milliseconds, but I did see an improvement for sure, and I had to because it was heavy. It was a heavy usage, so I had to find all the little angles to try to speed up the site. So.
But that's a good info. I mean, that's something we should put out to the partners, because I think lots of partners, like I was always using for loops, like on BC, because it's more, you have everything on one page, the code is on one page. So if that's really best practice to use the lists, we should like put it somewhere on the Treehouse page, like best practice or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'll share just one more. I'm sorry to. I'll stop talking here.
No, not at all.
I'll show you another site I was doing where this is a good use of this, and it's this site right here. So it's a basketball site, and so I'm using the blog articles here, and they wanted to be able to offset so that this is like the latest news article, but they wanted these to show up also. So they didn't want to have duplicates, basically. So, so on the home page, bear with me here. I just want to find out where I put this. Home message, template footer, top bar, message box is done. Okay, good. Problem is too is these are older BC sites that I migrated over, and I had a certain way of doing it. I kind of brought over the BC way of doing it. It's like all the new sites, they're all follow the same principles now. So when I go back to these older sites, I forget what I did now, right? But any of the newer sites that I've been doing, they all follow the same principle, so it's easier to get to them, right? Let's see here, homepage. Okay, so the where's the homepage upcoming? Okay, so on this particular page, I needed to show the new blog articles. So the latest one always shows up here. So this is the first one based on the release date, always shows up here. But I didn't want it to duplicate. If I just outputted the tag, it would have just duplicated that first one up there because it was the most recent one. So in order to achieve that, you can see up here, that's the component blog source is just, it's a limit of 1. It's based on the featured article sort by release date, and it's a descending order, so it's only 1, so that's why it's showing the 1 up top. But for the other ones, I had to create a loop, a collection. So I used the limit 3, because I needed to offset 1, and then shift over by the first one. So offset it by 1. And that's really the only time I would actually use a for loop like this in this particular case. Hopefully that makes sense to people. But that's a case where I would use it. And if I needed to get more out of the loop, if I needed to find out, if I need to showcase something different or a particular icon, or if it contained a certain word, I would use that kind of loop. But for the most part, I would just be using this tag, to be honest, and then using the list layout from the tag. And the great thing about this is you can just create as many lists as you want. It's really sky's the limit, right? And I find if you're doing those multiple lists in here, in my personal opinion, it's using less resources. So I'll stop talking now.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's interesting. I always use for loops, but I put them in the list layout, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure if that would change the performance hit. So instead of doing your for loop on the page, I changed the module tag to the object type of collection and put the for loop in the list layout. So I haven't actually tested any performance issues like that. So, but that would be interesting. I might have to do that. But I find that's a cleaner way to keep it all contained, but still get the benefit of doing your for loops. Have to do some testing on that. So Studio RTP was just asking, what does recursive liquid mean? So it's basically when you're calling something in liquid that then calls something else and calls something else or calls the same thing again. So like if you were calling a module that then went and called itself again, it would just have this loop, which is really bad. And it doesn't seem like Treehouse has any real sort of protection against that. I think BC did. I think BC had a recursion limit. So if you hit that, it would just stop processing, which I think is a good thing because it saves your site from crashing or killing the server resources. So hopefully they can work on that a bit more. Yeah, so that was good. I definitely will have to test that the for loop thing. I wonder how we can test. How are you testing the performance of Liquid? Like, because it's obviously coming down to milliseconds. So is it just with the page speed stuff, or because it's really all done server side? So
yeah, for me, my tests were on a page that was using tables. And I had a lot of custom module items dumping into those tables. So I was actually my list was like an actual TD, like a TR and TD. So it was looping within a TR table row. And so it was really sluggish, like really. And mind you, this was like back in December too. So I had to change everything up when it was like the older code and since they made improvements. But even then. So I just tested it. I just did a test page, and I did it as using, loops, and then just using just the list modules, and it was definitely quicker. I mean, it was still slow because it was pulling so much data in. And even that, I had to tell the client, I was like, look, it's slightly different system. So I ended up having to change the module up to put it into 4 different pages, which ended up being better anyways. But yeah, it really depends on the usage and the demands of the page or the module that you're using, to be honest. And it's going to be different for everyone. Like how you're doing your liquid loops sounds interesting to me as well. So I kind of want to try all these different methods now. So who has time to try all this stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I sort of got to a method that I liked, that worked well, was quick, and just kept with it. Didn't test it. But I haven't noticed any performance hits either, so yeah. Definitely some things to look at.
Talking about speed, what about admin speed? Would like to hear what you guys think about the speed of the admin compared to BC, and what experience you have, like maybe different browsers. What's the best browser? Is it like one is faster than the other? I don't know. I'm not very happy with the speed. I still find it a bit slower than BC. I think there's going to be an upgrade in October, speeding that up. So what do you guys think?
For me, the admin's way slower in Treehouse, especially if you have a lot of custom module items or pages. Oh, it's way slower, without a doubt. But now I'm just used to it now. So.
Are you using Chrome, right?
Yeah, I'm using Chrome. Yeah, yeah. I don't use Safari at all. I find Safari is a bit buggy when it comes to admin-based stuff. So, but you talk to Donna in my office here. She's all about Safari, so it's always a constant battle here. So.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on Safari, but yeah, I use Chrome for the admin, and I seem to think it's been pretty snappy. But yeah, maybe I just haven't had a lot of items to deal with. I'm doing all my smaller sites first, so although with the documentation side, it seems to run pretty well, and that's got a lot of items. So I haven't actually noticed too many issues. Sometimes there'll be a slowdown, like periodically, but overall it's been pretty good.
So what are you using? Chrome, Adam?
Chrome, yeah, on a Mac.
I wonder if there's anything else which might slow down the admin, like in the browser. Like, I don't know. JavaScript engine, no idea. Something like that.
I'd say mostly it's JavaScript based, isn't it? Because they're using I can't recall what the name.
Angular.
Yeah,
I think they use Angular.
So it'd be a lot of JavaScript talking to the APIs. So yeah.
In all fairness, I have tried it on I don't have any sites on SiteGlide, but I have tested it, and it's the same performance. It's kind of like this new API engines are a bit slower to load than BC's engine. So it's not just Treehouse, it's other platforms as well. So.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. It's basically the API which slows it down, but this will give us more opportunity in the future as well. So it's a give and take kind of.
Yeah, and they're working on it too. Like we've already seen multiple performance enhancements. So as time goes on, they're going to hopefully improve that. So it is still early days. We've got to remember. So. Yeah, the way I see it, if it's using JavaScript to ping the APIs all the time, you're doing a lot of HTTP requests. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I would imagine there's a lot of calls going back and forwards there, which you didn't have in the traditional sort of sense. So.
Adam, sorry, is it Ryan from Studio RTP? Sorry if I don't, my short-term memory. and long-term memory is pretty bad here. Yeah, thanks. When it comes to liquid, just if anybody's learning liquid, I wouldn't. I think when I finally figured it out, I had Adam Cook that was helping me back in the day, and he was very advanced, but he kind of noticed that I was really a noob when it came to this kind of stuff. I think the biggest thing for me, the light bulb moments, was the small victories. So don't just go in full out trying to learn how liquid all works. I would just focus on one thing, just go, okay, just do a simple thing if this something equals yes, output this, and then just if you just want to focus on how the if statement works, or if you just need to figure out, okay, I'm just going to play with the assign variable, how does that work? Just focus on one thing and you'll get that light bulb moment where you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and then you go do the other thing. I mean, for me, it took me forever to figure out how unless worked. It was the complete opposite of if, right? But I was for some reason my brain couldn't wrap around how this all worked. But now it's so just focus on the little things. That's the easiest method of learning, to be honest. So.
Yeah, totally. That's right. The unless thing got me too. It still gets me. I'm how does it not make sense? It's crazy. But yeah, most of the liquid stuff that you use, if it's the built-in blog module or your custom web app, it's all the same. It's the same principle that the liquid's using. So once you get one thing, it flows onto the other, and you get another thing, and it just keeps flowing on. So that's what I mean about once you dig in and you get that aha moment, it all starts to fall in place. But yeah, we'll definitely look at getting some more resources up around the place for liquid. All right. Well, I don't have any other topics to discuss, unless anyone else had anything that they were struggling with or wanted to know about.
Adam, just because it was on the agenda today, new tags, categories, and archive components.
Yeah.
I mean, we've worked with a new category a component, but and it works pretty well, I have to say. Not so much with the archive component. Did you do something with it?
Yeah, so I played around with it initially for the release review, and I was planning on updating my blog demo to showcase all those 3 tags, but just didn't get time, sorry. But yeah, they're cool because they basically, for the categories and tags, they're basically the same thing. They pull in a list of the categories that you might have and then show you what items are assigned to those, so you can grab that and then with Liquid use that how you want. And the archive, it's kind of the same thing, but it's calling the items based on a time, like a month. I think it's by month, or maybe you can set it. I'll have to revisit how it works. But so you can it basically groups all your items into their date periods. So if you think in a blog, you have the archive based on month, like how many items are in January, how many items are in February. So it just pulls them out like that. So you can iterate through the time periods and list out all the items within. So it's really the same as tags and categories. It's just that your months are the categories.
We found one problem with the categories module, and that is that in categories we also have parent categories, and the use case we had. And I checked the liquid, the JSON output.
Yeah.
And there's basically no the parent directory is not in there, as a parameter, as a property. You can find it in the URL. It's basically, I think it's only 4 properties, like the category name, a URL. I don't know what to do with this, but you can use it for passing it on as a parameter. Mm-hmm. But I would like to have the parent category also in the JSON output. So that's might be something to consider, because we tried it out and it didn't work. First, we used it to output data from another module, sorted by the category, and it didn't work first. And then we saw that it's basically not putting in the parent directory, and you need to put in the parent directory and the child the parent category and the child category in the filter. So that's how we found out. So that's a bit something to be considered when using that.
I think I have noticed that too. There's a discrepancy, like, because there's two ways, like the category that's output with the item, and then the categories that are output with the category tag module give you two different results. I think that's what you're saying. Like, one will just give you the name of the category, and the other will give you the actual structure of the category. So if it's, So yeah, I have noticed that too. So I might need to put in a bug request for that. But certainly knowing the parent of anything is always good. So I think we've had to ask for that several times with new things as they've come out. We want the parent, So I'm sure we'll get to that. So Megan's just asking for the code snippets URL. I'll just paste that now. I've got it. Yeah, so that's the link for the code snippets. Oh, the bonus item, Peters. Yep. So the bonus item is a new template. I only got the notification this morning, and I didn't have any time to look at it, so I haven't actually looked at the template. But yeah, apparently it's a brand new template launched for use. So, yeah, you just have to have a look at that. I don't use templates, so I didn't put that as a priority. Yeah, I'm the same, Aaron. I like bonuses that are feature related rather than templates. But most of you here, like 47% have ticked templates as your design tool, so it's a big deal. Regan's asking, do templates evolve and need updating or upgrading in Treehouse? Technically, not like in WordPress, they're not apps that need to be updated, but things are changing quickly in Treehouse, so there will be things that could be done in a better way or may not work the same, perhaps, but generally speaking, no, they shouldn't need updating. I might stop the recording now and see what happens after the recording stops.